Hello everyone, here's Thomas once again responding Ozzycda's new video. Thank you very much Mr. Collins once again for your response. You are right to say that we have both said what we had to say, and it's up to the viewers either they accept any of our case or not. You made an interesting and important point. We both have two different opinions, which is fine, and in the debate you can have two different conclusions and you can have either one of them. You said that if I'm saying something and quoting a certain book of history, where you are saying and holding another book of history or quoting something different, which will you going to believe? There is no resolution to this point, and that was the point on which I wanted to bring you. When it comes to the history of Islam, then you cannot believe anything objectively, as there is no reason to deny a certain individual simply because he holds a different opinion. The history of Islam is based exclusively on Muslim sources, so in a rational debate we can argue that they must be biased to a certain point of view and attitude. Having said that, I want you to focus also that so far what we have said is based on Muslim own fundamental problems, accepting or rejecting a particular story. Even they are not satisfied with each other. So how can non-Muslim will accept them? Muslims certainly cannot claim that non-Muslims should exclusively accept a certain Muslim tradition and not others. It's like picking and choosing a certain biased opinion, and it's not logical, and it's also a logical fallacy. The existence of Muhammad was not my topic, nor I wanted to press this matter further. The reason I quoted this narration from an Arab was the reason why you have so many different stories and so many false stories existed since his demise from the world. I think it was simple. There was a lack of authentic knowledge. Maybe it has to do with that Muhammad never existed. Maybe simply, or maybe he was there, but his followers simply did not pay enough attention to preserve his history. But no matter which was the case, you have to understand that there was a lack of credible knowledge from the very beginning of the Muhammad's life or after his demise, which lead to a necessity of inventing things. Now obviously the people who invented false stories were Muslim. Many of them were Muslims, if not all. So why a devoted Muslim falsely attribute a false story to Muhammad, let's say right after his death? Well, there are some opinions, you had some, you expressed them, let's say because some of these were munafiqs and want to damage Islam. B, some of them were really good Muslims but failed to understand many things and needed a second source of information other than the Quran to satisfy their requirements to understand something. So you see, I think there was a lack of credible information and knowledge, and people who were reading, let's say, Quran, when they required some assistance to understand some of its stories or to understand the necessity of a certain revelation, some of them actually falsely attributed many things to Muhammad itself and might thought that maybe he was thinking like that. So you see, you can argue on the very start of after the Muhammad's death, it was certainly a possibility. I asked you in the last video that you claimed that early hadith writers wrote their accounts down and they were the basis of some of the later collections, but it appeared that they did not reach to Ibn Ishaq, Ibn Hisham, Sa'd bin Umar, but mysteriously reached to much later to other hadith collectors. I asked you to inform me if you know these manuscripts evidence of early hadiths were survived somehow and mentioned in some of these hadith books, because I really don't know. So I would like to hear from you if you know this too, or these manuscripts actually survived much later. I checked your links, and once again thank you very much. I would say I can understand your opinion and enthusiasm about the so-called science of hadiths to prove them. I saw there even a graphical explanation of hadiths, isnad, and even from them it's clear in some cases the hadith reached to Imam Bukhari, let's say, or others, had to pass sometime 15, sometime 20, and sometime more people. And yet most of these hadiths are oral transmissions. You are seriously suggesting today that to us that we have to believe all of these persons because Imam Bukhari believed them. You know the school. You know one of the school game. I think I mentioned earlier in one of my video where you made a story and you pass it on to other person, and then it goes on and on until it reached to a last person. And when you hear the story from him, most of the time, and like that most of the time, it's a totally new story whatsoever. Now I can accept it as your opinion, no problem, but I think you should think of the matter a little carefully. oral transmissions are not reliable. And also, I think you did not pay full attention, and my apology if I'm harsh to you. One of my earlier calls to look the time after the death of Muhammad in the first 100 years. And you know very well, Mr. Collins, that when Ali, the fourth Khalifa, took over, he had a problem ruling over Syria, especially where the Muawiyah took control of Syria. By the way, Muawiyah and Uthman, the third Khalifa, were related and have the same clan of Makkah called Umayyah. You know, Mr. Collins, after the murder of Ali in 661, Muawiyah became the first Khalifa of his dynasty, and his Khilafat was called Umayyad Hul, which endured until 750. The Umayyads were deposed by the Abbasids, who lasted in Iraq and Baghdad until the 13th century almost. During the early years of the Umayyad dynasty, many Muslims were totally ignorant of Islam and regarding a ritual on its doctrine. You know the history of Umayyads and later Abbasids, and you know the ongoing political war between them, and you know the conditions of Muslims at that time, and hence you believe the stories which were basically created in those days are legitimized somehow. I leave it up to you, and I would really like you to read the history after the death of Muhammad and read the Umayyad and Abbasid dynasties and their political and religious culture, and see what kind of culture was there among them at that time. I am sure you are also aware of the fact that hadith tellers were getting sometimes money even to tell the stories, and that they were getting their money from their storytelling abilities. I know it's a lengthy subject and time limit does not allow me to go in further details, but so I say to all of you who's listening, and that instead of listening our small and focused biased opinions from both of us, please read the history, and I mean the detailed history after the death of Muhammad and Khilafat, and then read till the 13th century, end of the 13th century. I'm sure you will know much more than you know now. I promise that. Thank you very much for listening, and peace be with you all. And just before I leave you, I'm telling you, Mr. Collins, that I will be making some videos and some other videos you uploaded early. So I hopefully see you there. Okay. Thank you very much for your time. Peace be with you all.